Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Renew. I'm Pastor Tony Cowan. Thanks for joining us, and let's get right to the point today. We're in the second week talking about the reality of God's goodness. The fact that God is only purely absolute good and only wants to do good in our life. Like we read yesterday in James chapter 1, we have to be careful and not be deceived in living in this environment that we live in today, where there's a mixture of good and evil. We need to understand that the evil does not proceed from God, that every good gift and every perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights, where there is no variation nor shadow of turning. Sin in the fall of man, originally in the Garden of Eden, did not change God, did not change His nature, did not change His love towards us, His goodness, any of those things. He's always been out for our good because He's only good. God doesn't need to be born again. Men need to be born again. We lost our ability to understand the goodness of God because we were thrown in a mixture of good and evil, and many times we attribute those things to God, particularly when we're going through trials and situations. But when you're going through something, that's when you have to count it all joy, believing that God's goodness is going to show up in your life and it's going to go overcome evil. Now let's look over in the Gospel of John chapter 10 today. This is going to be our scriptures. This may be well known to you, maybe you've never heard this before. Now, these are words of Jesus right here, and they give us a lot of understanding and revelation about where evil proceeds from and where, of course, good comes from. But verse number 10 of John 10, it says, "The thief does not come except to steal, to kill, and to destroy. I have come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly." Now notice that Jesus makes a distinction here between the thief and himself. There is somebody, an adversary, an enemy out there who wants to steal, kill, and to destroy. You know, it's real easy to really distinguish what is good and what is evil. And the reason we have to say this is because a lot of times man-made religion and man-made ideas and opinions about things and about God have really mixed this up. And they've attributed many times evil things to God. God's been accused of doing all kind of heinous crimes and evil things to folks, where, you know, we as parents, if we'd have been accused and convicted of these things, we'd have been thrown in jail. Well, I want you to rest assured today and know for a fact that anything that's evil does not proceed from God. Only good and perfect gifts come from Him. Evil comes from the thief. Now, what are evil things? Evil things are things that steal, kill, and destroy. That would include sickness, disease, poverty, lack. You know, just about anything you can find under the curse of the law, and you can find that in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 through 66 or something like that. It goes into great detail because He wants us to know that this is not from God. Okay? Cancer does not come from God. Sickness and disease, poverty and lack, destructive things, destructive weather, tornadoes, hurricanes, do not come from God. They're not sent, you know, to God's own people in order to, you know, deepen our piety or deepen our spiritual walk or work some kind of mysterious will of God in our life. I want you to understand that, because if you're thinking that those evil things come from God, what that does is put you in a place of non-resistance to the thief. We're supposed to be resisting the devil. The devil is the thief. He's coming to steal, kill, and to destroy. In fact, that's the only reason he comes. He doesn't come to bless you. He doesn't come to buddy up with you, bring good into your life. He comes for one reason: to steal, kill, and to destroy. Now, he can't just bring his will to pass in our life. He has to bring deception in there. He has to lower our defenses. And one way he does that is convincing us that these evil things are coming from God. Because, you know, as children of God, we don't want to resist the will of God in our life. But things that steal, kill, and to destroy, they do not come from God. They come from the thief. Now I want you to notice that Jesus makes a distinction here. He said the thief comes to steal, kill, and to destroy. He said, but I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That's the will of God for us. The will of God is for us to have life, and life, another translation says, to the full, till it overflows in our life. There's a big distinction there. Now I want you to notice that whatever the thief is trying to do, Jesus is greater. Whatever evil tries to, you know, be manifest in your life, the goodness of God manifest in our life is far greater. I want you to understand that right there. Now notice verse number 11. It says, Jesus is talking again, saying the same thing. He said, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. Notice that he said, I am the good shepherd. He didn't say I'm the good and the bad shepherd. He said, I'm the good shepherd. And he said, notice, the good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. He doesn't take the life of the sheep. He gives his own life for the sheep. Now this reminds us, of course, of Psalm 23. We're all pretty familiar. Well, you probably heard it at one point in your life or another, but if you haven't, that's a good read. But Psalm 23 says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And that word want there means to lack. In other words, anything that we need in life, our good shepherd is leading us into the supply. He leads us into the green pastures beside the still waters, not to the barren dry ground, not to the dried up creek banks. He leads us into the living still waters where there's peace, where there's abundance. He causes us to lay down. Why would a sheep lay down? Because he's full, okay? It goes on to say after that, he said, my cup is running over. He said, surely goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life. Actually, the Hebrew says goodness and mercy are in hot pursuit of us all the days of our life. That is the good shepherd working in our life. Well, that's all the time I've got for today. Join us again tomorrow if you like additional resources and materials. Go to tonycowan.org, and we'll see you tomorrow.